that's how I got out of law school debt. Is finished law school, had $100,000 of debt, and so I bought a distressed home. I did a terrible job looking back on it, but it looked great. I now know so many more different tricks that I could have done. Welcome to NetworkingStar. I am your host, Jeffrey Boyle, and I interview some of the coolest entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and people that just make your life better. Today, I am joined by Tim Harridge. He is a Marine Corps vet. He's an entrepreneur, and now he's killing it as a real estate investor. Tim, thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
So, as we got to know each other, you're telling me now that even in this crazy market, you're now breaking records compared to when it was scorching hot before. How in the world can that be that you're doing better now in a down market, whereas before everybody seemed to be making money as a real estate?
So real estate investing is basically food, water, and shelter, right? The three basic necessities in life. And there are more people than there are houses right now. And that's just a fact. So as houses and homes become more unaffordable, more people need to rent, which provides demand for landlords. So landlords are jumping back in where it was the flippers kind of driving volume before.
Well, I just got back from a week vacation at a lake in a place called McCall, Idaho. And that's one of the things that an agent told me there is that everybody before was just looking for an Airbnb. But now the people who are trying to find the jobs are the ones who are looking for the locations. So how is that working? You have all these people snap up all this inventory, the people that were cash buyers. How is it that you're now switching this to different types of investors?
Well, I think it's seasons, right? So low interest rate, high appreciation, the exit strategy, even in my house buying business, even though I run a multi-billion-dollar loan company now, I still buy a lot of houses. The exit strategy changes. Like 2 years ago, you had to flip because prices were going up so fast that you couldn't really count on what the value was going to be in a couple months. So you could get in, get out, and make 50 grand in 30 days. Whereas now it's more about back to normal, steady prices, higher rents. It's much more calculated. It's a mathematical equation now versus I'd say, shot in the dark.
So you buy homes, you do investing into different projects, and then you also do loans. What don't you do, or maybe better, give me a short version of how it is that you're making money during this market.
Yeah, so I sold my insurance company, so I don't do that anymore. Now, look, I mean, I run RCN Capital. I'm the executive director, and we do a couple hundred loans a week nationwide. I make money flipping houses. I make money. My Airbnbs are still making money. And we have a lot of midterm rentals, and that's probably where we're crushing it the most is midterm rentals.
Well, and you obviously are the expert on the call, not me. I'm just the one looking for the information on it. My understanding is the Airbnbs right now are different than they were during that time, meaning that less people are doing Airbnbs. Is that true, or is the Airbnb market still as hot as it was before?
So I'll correct myself. I'm not going to call it an Airbnb. I'll call it a short-term rental. The
Okay.
short-term rental market is hurting a little bit right now, mainly because oversupply in non-standard areas. Vacation rentals, short-term rentals have been around forever, right? It's not new, but the house down the street in a rural suburban neighborhood being a short-term rental, that's new, and that's the part of the market that's declining. If you've got something near Disney World or in a vacation type destination, those are still doing great. So my short-term rentals that are doing great are down in San Antonio by SeaWorld. And, it's summer. People are on vacation. So our bookings are way up.
Well, so I have always made money as a entrepreneur within different industries, and for a short time I was actually an employee, and I would always buy real estate. And to get out of my law school loan, I flipped homes, and so I thought, well, that's a great thing. Then I switched to buying a home, staying in it for a couple couple of years to avoid the extra taxes, and then I'd sell it. My poor wife has had to move far more times than she thought. And our most recent one was we sold our estate in a place called Eagle, Idaho, moved to Costa Rica, stayed in Costa Rica for a while. Now we're coming back and we're like, man, should we buy now? It's kind of a scary time because we made money before. What do you tell a guy like me that has done well with real estate, but right now is not quite sure what to do if I'm going to get burned or not?
Look, I think we have a minor recession coming. I think the damage is going to be a little worse than people think, but real estate is actually what drags the economy out of recessions. Only once has it caused a recession, and that was because we got really stupid in 06 and 07.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at a chart, it's always up and to the right, and it's always going to be up and to the right because it's compounded appreciation, right? It's compounded year after year, it compounds. So, the old adage, I hate to use cliches, Jeff, but you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait.
Mm. That's a good cliche, though.
Yeah, it is.
That's a good soundbite. We're going to use that one. We take a lot of these interviews and put them on his Instagram reels, and I think that's a good one. But so it's talk to the 20. My oldest son is 23, and he's thinking about all these different things that he wants to do. Talk to my 23-year-old son for just a second, who has interest in real estate. How do you take the steps? You were a Marine Corps veteran. You go from the Marines to having a multi-million-dollar real estate business. How do you take those steps to create that empire, that mini empire that you've created?
So, Jeff, and I'll tell you, because I have a 22-year-old son that's at Oklahoma State.
Old guy then. So if you got a 22-year-old.
Yeah, and he's about to become a pilot. And he has an interest in investing, not necessarily real estate, but investing. And here's what I tell him, and it's the same thing that's gotten me where I am. Life is a journey. And you have a destination in mind, and you need to have a plan to get to that destination. But what we all have to understand is on long road trips, you make stops, there are detours, and sometimes you change your mind on where you're going. If you had told me I'll be here where I am right now 25 years or so ago when I got out of the Marine Corps, I would have laughed at you. I would have thought you were nuts. Some of the things like private jets and boardrooms in Manhattans, I'd have thought you were an idiot. I wanted to be a cop, Jeff. I was going to be a cop. That was my goal. So the point is, every day, you just got to take action towards something. You got to get up and do something that gets you towards your goal. And then you have to be flexible enough to realize goals and desires change. And like especially once you have kids.
Kids, my dad used to always tell us, if it weren't for you guys, I'd be a pilot and have 2 Corvettes. Kids are the $600 or whatever we get on tax deduction is not a good investment, but they obviously have changed my life in a million ways. But, so how do there's so much money that can be made if you're patient with it. What is kind of that path, how a person would get started in either an investor or making some money as a real estate professional?
You can spend a lot of time beating your head against creative strategies or, these super special ways to raise all this money and then this and that. But I've found our most successful people, they save up $20,000, $30,000 and just put it down on a house. They buy value. They buy something that's distressed. They buy something that needs a little bit of work. And then they have a track record. And in all business, once you have a track record, you can raise money. You can get people to help you loan money, right? You've shown that you can do this, right? As you know, as a podcaster, it's a much more proposition to get someone on your first episode than your 1,000th, right? Yeah. Because it's new. I mean, I don't trust you. I don't know who you are. I mean, you may be dropping F-bombs and sullying my name, right? But when you contact me and you're experienced, I can look you up. I can say, oh, okay, this guy runs a quality thing. I'd like to be involved with it. Same thing goes for real estate, or any business. You got to get started. And if you're not willing to bet on yourself, you can't expect others to be willing to bet on you.
Yeah, and I 100% agree on that. It's so many times the people that we do business with think that they've got to get a home run right when they start. That just doesn't happen. And of course, I'm a baseball fan. Sometimes you're just happy to get hit in the shoulder so you can get a free base as you get
Yeah.
out there. And so essentially what you're saying is, I've explained that that's how I got out of law school debt, is finished law school, had $100,000 of debt. And so I bought a distressed home. I did a terrible job looking back on it, but it looked great. I now know so many more different tricks that I could have done, but now I have no interest in doing what I did when I was 30. I don't want to work as hard as I did pulling out a tub. Pulling out a tub's a ton of work, and so I look at the different things that we've done. And even when we took our property in Costa Rica, we were able to manage the work. And so I agree 100%. It's just these steps that you have to take. So one of the things that you've done is you're basically saying is that you save up the first $20,000-$30,000, you buy a distressed property, you fix it up, and then you have the ability to go off and get bigger and bigger deals. A lot of people, that may scare them to death, the idea of taking the leap from using their own money to using other people's money. How is it that you transition from that relying upon your resources then to relying upon other people's resources?
So you said you're a baseball guy, so I'm gonna turn the interview a little bit. There's a concept that I teach, and I started teaching it 10 or 12 years ago to home investors franchises, because I had 40 offices across the nation. And one of the things was that you hated was when someone was too successful on their first deal, right? Because they made 150, 200 grand and really killed it on the first deal. You were like, oh no. They were almost always the ones that failed, because then they were always chasing that home run, right? And when you see the home run swinger that is always swinging for a home run, it's like, yeah, that dude's going to have a 200 batting average, right? And my son's a baseball player, and one of his best plays all year was literally bases loaded, bottom of the final inning. I think it was like sixth inning, it's Little League. He gets hit in the ribs, right? RBI by hit by pitch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, run hit by pitch in. So I'm going to tell you this little concept, and it's really it's probably what I should have answered when you said, "What would I tell your son?" So to me, when you look at
the ribs, that's what you're saying to my son. Take it in the ribs.
Take it in the ribs. So to me, there's 12 starts. There's 12 steps to getting into this business, right? Number one, you got to learn the game. And if YouTube had been around when I got started, man, I would have been so much more successful, so much quicker. All the podcasts and YouTube and forums, there's no excuse not to learn the game. Then you got to learn your position, because some people, by nature of their personality, are just not going to be okay taking the risk I have taken. I bought a house for $415,000 yesterday I've never seen, and I'm fine with it. I trust my team. I've got pictures. What could go wrong? Lose 20, 30,000 or make 100. That's my personality. Some people listening may be like, oh, hell no, right? And you may need to be a lender. You may not need to be the buyer. So you got to learn what position is going to work for you. The third step, you got to get a coach. You can't do anything alone. You never see a professional organization that doesn't have a coach. Even the jiu-jitsu guy that is fighting in the UFC this weekend, he's got a coach in his corner watching for him and telling him what to do. And you got to get on a team. The fourth part is just get on a team, because, Jeff, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together, right? And in this business, your team doesn't have to be people that you pay. It's just people you can count on. A good general contractor, a good attorney, the real estate agent you were talking about a minute ago, right? Like, you've got to have this team of people that surround you that you can call on when you need them. And the fifth step is you've got to train, right? You can't just sit and think about investing in real estate and then one day do it, right? It's the reason Major League Baseball players take batting practice before the game, right? They're warming up their mind, their muscles, their body. So if you're thinking about buying real estate in I don't care where, America, start looking at real estate. Find someone you trust, a real estate agent, an active investor, a mentor, a coach. Run a deal by them. Hey, Jeff, I think this is a good deal. Could you look at it? And if Jeff's any good, Jeff may be like, that's an idiotic deal. That's why it's been on the market for 285 days, right? The point is you're learning by doing, and that's the only way to be successful in anything, in my opinion. And then once you've done all that, you've got to play the game, right? In life, I would rather strike out swinging than watching.
Yeah.
Right. When I watch my kid take strike 3, it makes me want to punch air. It's just awful.
Well,
You got to.
at least you're just punching air. I mean, that's the good thing there, right?
Yeah, not my kid.
There you go.
But no, you got to play the game, right? Eventually, if you're thinking about it, you got to take action and you got to get involved. The worst thing that could happen is you lose money. And if you're listening, you think, oh, that's awful, Tim. That's not the worst thing. That's the worst thing ever. Think about it. If you spend $20,000 going to college for a year, it's just education.
Yeah.
If you spend $80,000 to go to 4 years, it's education. If you lose $10,000 or $15,000 or break even on a house, I promise you, swear on my life, you will learn more on a transaction than you ever will in a classroom.
Yeah, no problem.
You got to know the other players. This is step number 7. You got to understand who's out there. You got to understand what they're doing, and you have to understand where your synergies are. You've got to master your role. Like if you're the acquisitions guy, you just got to be the best acquisitions guy ever. And then point number 9 is don't swing for the fence. Honestly, I'm just a believer in that because, on base percentage, right? Get on base. You will score runs. Too many people are waiting for that home run deal and they never get in a game. And then these last 3 are the most important. Number 10 is watch the tapes.
Yeah.
Right? Once you get a deal under your belt or you've done anything in life, you've got to reflect back with objectivity on what you did right and what you did wrong and how you can do better. The man in the mirror is the only competition that we all have if we're willing to look in the mirror. But then, after you do anything in life, I believe you got to hit the clubhouse. We've all seen the baseball players popping champagne. I think you've got to hit the clubhouse. I think you've got to celebrate your wins and your victories. You have to bring your family into it. Let them know how this happened and it was great for us. And then, you got to play it again because you can't retire on one. You got to keep going. So that's kind of a little concept I like to teach people.
Well, as you're going through that, it really made me think of, I love watching real life documentaries, reading history. I love history. During COVID, man, I went through just book after book on history of people who had succeeded. And so many of them had so many failures and so many impossible barriers to get through. This new one that's on Netflix is called the Quarterback, and it's got Patrick Mahomes and it's got Kirk Cousins. The amount of work that Patrick Mahomes puts in, during the week, you've got games in between, rather than just taking it easy. He's meeting with a quarterback coach, and this quarterback coach, I remember seeing him like, how can that guy teach Mahomes anything? This guy is overweight. He must have played at some point, but Mahomes is as good as it gets. He's hired his own personal trainer. And on the same series, you've got a guy that's got a cook that's cooking for him. And you just see the amount of work that these guys put into it, but they all have mentors I meet with. Kirk Cousins meets with a psychiatrist every week to be able to make sure that he's in play. And so that's, I think, one of the big things that I picked out from what you're talking is finding that mentor. What would you say is the best way, as the final question I've got for you, what's the best way to find a mentor in real estate?
It's networking. It's going where the people that do what you want to do probably are.
Yeah.
And then add value to someone's life. Find out what you can do to help them and do it without expectations, not a quid pro quo, not Jeff, I'll do this for you if you'll do this for me. Find a way to add value. Find a way to help someone. If you know how to do web pages, offer to help someone with their website, free of charge, no strings attached. But then there'll come a time that you need help. And if you just reach out to that person, say, hey, do you mind? The answer is going to be no problem.
Yeah.
And so I think paying things forward, giving without expectation is the best way to find a mentor. It's the best way to build your team. It's the best way to build your career. It's frankly the reason, Jeff, I'm on this call with you today. I've got nothing to sell.
Yeah.
Right. I've got nothing. I do my weekly podcast. I think I talk about my company once.
Yeah.
The rest is like, let me help you. Right. And go around the world helping people, and you'll just be amazed at how many people are willing to help you.
Well, tell everybody where to find your podcast.
Yeah, so at Tim Harridge, I'm like the only one on the planet. It's super easy to find. Every single social media channel out there is just at Tim Harridge. You can go to my personal website, timharridge.com. It's there. It's the Uncontested Investing Show. It goes out every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., and it's about 35 to 45 minutes of I fly in successful entrepreneurs, and I grill them on what's made them successful, and try to help the audience find a way to make more money every episode.
Well, super grateful you'd be with us. It's you can tell that you've got a wealth of knowledge, and I think that is something that I've already done 2 of these this morning, and I asked the 22-year-old, and he was so wise beyond his years, and he talked about finding a good mentor, finding somebody that has what you want and was where you were, and that, I think, is a huge key. Tim, thank you so much for being with me, and I can see why you went from a Marine Corps veteran to extraordinarily successful within real estate. Appreciate you being with me.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.